Welcome to the deep dive. So if you're a founder, maybe a leader who's poured everything into building something, well, you probably know that moment, that kind of scary point.
Mm-hmm.
You've built something successful, but then that very success starts to feel like a problem. It hits you that the whole thing really depends way too much on you.
Yeah, that it might not survive without you. It's the classic scaling crisis, isn't it?
Sure.
The sources we looked at call it the planter's paradox.
The planter's paradox.
Right. The person who started it all, the hands-on planter, they absolutely have to shift gears, become more of a catalyst.
A catalyst. Explain that.
Someone who, sparks growth in others rather than doing it all themselves. Because
Yeah.
if they don't make that transition, everything they built, it just risks fading away when they eventually step back.
And that's what we're diving into today, right? So really digging into the blueprint for making that specific shift. It's clearly more than just like handing over the building keys.
Oh, much more. It's about adopting a completely different leadership mindset, almost a new posture, focused on legacy, not just your day-to-day presence, building something that eventually doesn't strictly need you.
Which sounds terrifying. Building something to become unnecessary.
It does, but that's the paradox, isn't it? Building something so well that your own input isn't the critical factor anymore? That's actually the deepest form of stewardship. It shows the system works.
Because if it all falls apart the minute the founder leaves.
Then it wasn't really a sustainable system, was it? It was just maybe a really successful launch powered by one person's sheer energy and charisma.
Okay, so to even think about leading like that, letting go,
Yeah.
you need some solid ground underneath you, some core principles.
Definitely. The sources really emphasize the theological anchors for this. It's about moving from feeling like the owner to acting like a steward.
What are those key principles? What makes this kind of release not just strategic, but maybe even necessary?
Well, it really starts with the idea of kenosis. That's the pattern we see in Christ's self-emptying, from Philippians 2. It's the model for redemptive leadership.
Self-emptying. How does that play out organizationally?
It means power isn't for hoarding or dominating. It's used to enable, to empower, to lift others up. It fundamentally shapes how you structure things.
So like practically, if you're practicing kenosis, you can't just say you're empowering people while keeping the final veto on everything.
Exactly. That's the key. If you claim kenosis but still have the ultimate unchallenged sign-off on every big decision, you haven't actually released authority. You've just delegated tasks. It forces you to look hard at where you are the bottleneck and build real limits.
Interesting. Okay, and the second anchor, the bigger picture.
That's the Missio Dei, the core idea that the mission belongs primarily to God, not the founder. We're joining something already in motion.
So shifting from proprietor to steward, less my vision and more the vision I'm stewarding for a time.
Precisely. It takes the pressure off needing to be the source of everything and reframes your role as protecting and, crucially, releasing the movement to others.
Which leads to that personal mantra you mentioned, the one for the founder going through this.
Yeah, the John the Baptist model. He must increase, I must decrease. It sounds simple, but living it out. Actively celebrating when new leaders succeed, even if it means your direct influence shrinks. That's maybe the toughest part psychologically.
Okay, let's get practical. If the goal is this multiplication, this release, the planter needs to shift focus. Less about perfecting the original seed, the vision,
And more about designing the soil, the whole environment, the system.
becoming the architect of the soil. I like that. How do you do that? How do you build an ecosystem?
It boils down to codification, making success repeatable part of the system itself. It means clear, documented structures. The sources lay out four essential pillars for this systemic soil.
All right, walk us through them. Pillar one, cultural soil. That sounds important, but maybe a bit fuzzy.
It can feel fuzzy, but it's the bedrock. It's the DNA. If that DNA is only carried in the founder's personality, it's incredibly fragile.
So what's the work?
It's about distillation. Boiling down the core mission, the essential rhythms, the absolute non-negotiables into something tangible, like a one-page church DNA document.
One page.
Yeah, something concise enough that everyone can grasp it, recite it even. The goal is to make the story communal, owned by everyone, not just tied to the founder's narrative.
That makes sense. Codify the culture so the story outlives any one person. Okay, but culture needs carriers. What about the leaders? the leadership soil.
Right. This is where the planter truly becomes the master equipper. You have to move beyond just randomly delegating tasks. You need a proper structured apprenticeship pipeline.
The sources mentioned a 4-step rhythm for this.
Yes, a really clear cycle. First, watch me do it. That's observation. Second, let's do it together. Shared practice. Third, you do it and I'll watch supervised autonomy. And finally, fourth, go and do it with someone else. That's reproduction.
Okay, watch me, do it together, you do it, I watch, go reproduce. Where does this usually break down for founders?
Step 3. Almost always step 3. Supervised autonomy. It's painful.
Why?
Because you have to stand back and watch the person you're training do it slower, maybe less effectively than you would at first. And the urge, the founder's instinct is always, it's faster if I just do it.
Right. Sacrifice short-term speed for long-term health.
Exactly. If you skip step 3 or rush it, you don't get autonomous leaders. You just get really good assistants who still depend on you.
Okay, so we've got documented culture, structured leadership pipelines. Both need a lot of patience, a lot of writing things down. But none of that matters if one person still holds all the power and, crucially, the purse strings, right?
You're right on it. That brings us to the third pillar, governance soil. Tackling that founder single point of failure.
How?
By intentionally moving from that centralized founder always decides model to genuinely distributed authority. And the key tool for this, it's called the green-amber decision grid.
A decision grid. Tell me more. How does that work?
It's basically a published document, clear for everyone to see, that defines different levels of decisions and who makes them. Green means routine, low-risk stuff. Local leaders have full autonomy. Go for it.
Okay.
Amber decisions are medium level. Maybe they have bigger budget implications or cross-team impact. These require consultation, maybe with the catalyst or a leadership team, before action.
And red?
Red is the high-risk category. Things like major legal issues, safeguarding concerns, significant doctrinal shifts, huge financial commitments. These require escalation, founder involvement, probably board oversight. It defines the boundaries.
I can see a potential problem, though. Doesn't publishing a grid like that make people risk-averse? Like maybe they'll just bump everything up to amber to avoid getting blamed if a green decision goes wrong?
That's a real tension, and you have to actively design against it. The culture around the grid matters hugely. You must celebrate and reinforce good green decisions. And when a green decision leads to a mistake, a minor mistake, within bounds it needs to be treated as a learning opportunity, as data, not a reason for punishment.
So the failure isn't making a mistake within your authority. It's ignoring the grid altogether.
Precisely. The only real failure is, say, making a red-level decision unilaterally without the proper authority. That undermines the whole system.
Makes sense. Okay, final pillar, financial soil. This feels critical for actual independence.
Absolutely critical. The organization can't truly multiply if it's always financially tied to the founder's personal network or waiting for their signature on checks.
So what does building financial soil involve?
3 really concrete actions. 1, actually transferring signatory rights to the local leaders or board. 2, publishing budgets openly, creating transparency. 3, intentionally training lay leaders in good financial stewardship.
And the goal?
The goal is genuine financial self-reliance, maybe staged over time, but aiming for, say, 80 to 100% of the budget being raised and managed locally. When they control the money, they really own the mission in a new way.
Okay, the systems are built, the structures are documented. Now comes the really hard part, maybe, the internal struggle. Even with the best systems, letting go is tough. What's this quiet tension founders feel?
Yeah, this is where the psychology gets intense. The sources talk about identity fusion.
Identity fusion.
Where the founder's sense of self, their worth, their vocational identity gets completely wrapped up in the success and direction of the organization they started. Stepping back can feel like losing a part of themselves, like vocational death, almost.
And the fear is
Right.
that it'll all fall apart without them, that the vision will get diluted.
Exactly, that their unique contribution is irreplaceable, and letting go means risking everything. It often masks itself. It looks like care, like protection, but underneath it's often about control. Control dressed as care.
Which leads right into that danger zone you mentioned earlier, the take-back trap. Paint that picture for us.
Okay, imagine a local leader empowered with a budget, try something new, an outreach program maybe, and it doesn't work. Maybe it even fails quite publicly.
Yeah.
The founder sees this, feels the embarrassment or the pressure, their instinct, swoop in, fix the mess, apologize for the leader, and then, crucially, take back control of that area until things are stable again. That's the trap.
And why is that so damaging? It feels like helping in the moment.
It feels like helping, but the sources are really clear. Rescuing that one failure today directly costs you multiplication tomorrow.
Because,
Because you've just reinforced dependency. You've sent a loud signal to that leader and everyone watching. Mistakes aren't tolerated, and ultimately only the founder can handle real problems. It teaches passivity.
so the leader learns not to take risks, and the system loses its ability to learn and adapt.
Exactly. You might save the budget line item this quarter, but you've stunted the growth of your leaders and the resilience of the organization. Permanently, maybe?
Wow, okay. So if you're the founder and you feel that intense urge to jump in, to rescue, how do you stop yourself? What are the practical boundaries?
You need some hardwired tactics. Rules for yourself?
Yeah.
The best one discussed is the 48-hour pause.
48 hours.
Yeah. When that rescue feeling hits, you see the mistake, you want to fire off that email, make that call, you force yourself to wait 2 full days. 48 hours.
What do you do in those 48 hours?
You don't just sit there fuming, you pray. You talk to a peer, someone outside the situation who gets this transition dynamic. And you journal about it, what exactly triggered that urge. The pause breaks the emotional reactive cycle.
Turns reactivity into reflection.
Oh, okay.
But leaders are going to make mistakes, even with good intentions. How do you build a system that allows for failure without, catastrophe?
That's where safe fail design comes in. You have to create space for experimentation, but with clear boundaries.
Like what kind of boundaries?
Explicit limits. Okay, you want to try this new initiative? Great. Here's the budget cap. Here's the time frame we'll evaluate in 90 days. Here are the learning goals. What do we want to discover, succeed, or fail?
So if the mistake happens within those agreed upon boundaries,
And it's not something catastrophic like a safeguarding issue or major doctrinal error, then you treat the cost as R&D. You analyze the data. Okay, that cost us X, but what did we learn? Why didn't it work? It's an investment in learning, not a failure to be punished.
and your language has to shift too, right? When you're coaching them through that. Less, let me fix it, and more.
Totally different language. Your primary role shifts from CEO to coach. Instead of saying, I'll handle it, you ask questions. Okay, that didn't go as planned. What would success look like if we try it again? What resources do you need for me to get there? You resource their plan, you don't provide the solution.
So if the catalyst manages this, disciplines themselves, build these systems, coaches effectively, what does their role look like long term? They don't just vanish.
No, absolutely not. The presence changes. It shifts. Maybe from CEO to something more like a wise grandparent figure or an apostolic encourager, as some sources put it.
Influence shifts from title to relationship.
Exactly. Your power comes from your wisdom, your network, your ability to connect and coach, not your position on the org chart. There's even a suggested metric. Maybe the catalyst aims to spend only, say, 25% of their time on direct ministry execution, the doing,
And the other 75%.
equipping, coaching, connecting people, resourcing the next generation of leaders. You become the facilitator of the network, not the star player.
Which brings us to measurement. If you've made this shift, you can't keep measuring success the old way. Attendance numbers, building size, those vanity metrics don't capture what matters now.
Right. Those metrics often measure the founder's visibility or the organization's current size retention. The catalyst needs a different dashboard, one focused on reproduction and long-term resilience. Multiplication becomes the main KPI.
Okay, so what should be on that catalyst dashboard? What are the key multiplier metrics?
First and foremost, the leader reproduction ratio. Are your leaders actually developing new leaders?
How do you track that?
You count how many mature disciples actually step into leadership roles and begin developing others over a set period, maybe 3-5 years. The target needs to be ambitious, like each key leader should reproduce at least one other leader within 3 years. That shows the pipeline isn't just theory.
Okay, leader reproduction. What else? How do you know if that decision grid is actually working, if people feel empowered?
You track the decision autonomy rate. What percentage of those routine green light decisions are being made locally without needing founder or upper-level sign-off?
And the goal there.
You'd want that to be high, maybe over 70%. If it's low, it might mean leaders are still hesitant or the grid itself isn't quite right. It tells you if authority has truly been distributed.
Makes sense. What about ensuring the organization doesn't just become internally focused on its own systems, staying outward-looking?
For that, you track the send rate. What percentage of your active members are getting involved in something external each year? Starting a new initiative, joining a mission project, planting something new.
A healthy system reproduces outward, not just inward.
Exactly. A target might be somewhere in the 3-7% range annually. It shows vitality.
And the final one, the ultimate test of whether the system is truly independent.
That's the continuity index, basically resilience. When a key leader leaves, steps down, moves away, what percentage of their core ministry responsibilities continue smoothly without a major drop-off?
Ah, so it tests whether the ministry depended on the person or the system.
Precisely. If everything collapses when manager X leaves, the system wasn't robust. You're aiming for high continuity, maybe 90% or more, showing the leadership and governance structures are working.
Wow. Okay, so recapping for everyone listening, especially if you're in that planter role, the journey to becoming a catalyst is really concrete. You've got to document the DNA, build those structured apprenticeship pipelines, enforce clear governance like the green, amber, and grid, and crucially, shift how you measure success, away from retention towards reproduction.
It's a demanding path, no doubt. But when you connect it back to those foundational ideas like kenosis and missio Dei, you see that this act of release, it's not failure or abandonment, it's actually the ultimate act of faithful stewardship.
Letting the garden grow beyond the original gardener.
Yeah, you're allowing space for the thing you started to truly multiply, maybe in ways you never even imagined.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with. What if the highest measure of your faithfulness as a planter isn't judged by the size of the garden bed you dug yourself, or how beautiful the plants looked while you were constantly watering them?
What if instead it's measured by the fruit that continues to grow, continues to multiply, continues to scatter its own seeds long after your hands have stepped away?
What if your greatest legacy isn't the organization you started, but the independent, thriving movement that only emerged because you had the courage and the structure to intentionally let it go?